Welcome, folks. We're going to wait a couple minutes for all of our participants to join us. Just going to wait another minute for all of our participants to join us, and then we'll get going. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for this Five College virtual open house. My name is Kevin Kennedy, and I work for the Five College Consortium. I'm going to talk for a couple of minutes about the opportunities that students at our member campuses get through the consortium. And then I'm going to hand things over to representatives from our campuses. We'll talk about their own campuses, and then we'll open things up for questions from you. First off, I think we can start with the consortium itself. Five Colleges is made up of Amherst, Hampshire, Mount Holyoke, and Smith colleges, and the University of Massachusetts Amherst. The campuses have been working together for more than 50 years in what I consider to be two parallel principles of collaboration. One of sharing resources, so that whenever possible, our campuses will make available to students from the other four campuses that which they have available for their own students. And also the idea of pooling resources, so that as a group, they can accomplish things that they may not be able to accomplish individually. I think the best example of sharing resources is our cross-registration program, through which students can take courses on any of our member campuses at no charge, and the credits are fully transferable back to their home campus. We try to make this as easy as possible by having a Five College bus system that runs from campus to campus every 15 to 20 minutes during the day, during the week. The buses also run in the evenings and on the weekends, so students can get together for social and extracurricular activities, and also to visit our downtowns and shopping centers in the area. Students can take up to 2 courses per semester on another campus. And we're often asked how students are able to fit this into their schedule. And a lot depends on the campus that they're on and the campus that they'll be taking the course at. 3 of our campuses, Hampshire, Amherst College, and UMass, are located in the town of Amherst and are less than a 10-minute bus ride apart. Smith College is in the city of Northampton, and that's about a half-hour bus ride from the 3 Amherst campuses. And then Mount Holyoke is in the town of Hadley, and that's about a 20-minute bus ride from our Amherst campuses and about a half-hour bus ride from Smith College. And so a student, working that into the schedule would take that into account, as well as traveling from their dorm to the bus stop, et cetera, to see if they can make it work. We're also asked what percentage of students from each of the campuses take advantage of cross-registration. And that does vary tremendously from campus to campus. Hampshire College was really designed to take advantage of cross-registration, and usually more than 95% of its students will take at least 1 course on another campus before graduating. At the other end of the spectrum is UMass, where usually about 8 to 10% of its students will take courses on another campus. But UMass is so much larger than the college campuses that the total number of students from UMass taking courses on another campus are about the same as on the college campuses. And then Amherst, Smith, and Mount Holyoke are somewhere between these 2 ends of the spectrum. And we're also asked how difficult it is to get into a course on another campus. And again, that really depends on the course. As you'll find in college, there are courses that are very popular and just difficult to get into. And that certainly this is true with Five Colleges, but we do ask our faculty to try to leave at least a couple of spaces available for students from Five College campuses. Other examples of sharing resources are the fact that our theater and dance productions have open auditions, so students from all 5 campuses can try out for them. Also, extracurriculars, concerts, and social activities are open to students from all 5 campuses. Students will often socialize with each other on an individual basis, but there are definitely social activities every semester that will draw students from all 5 campuses. When it comes to combining resources, there's also many examples of the campuses working together to accomplish things as a group that they might not be able to do individually. We have departments in dance and astronomy and 5 college majors in film and architecture. Now, in these cases, these are available on our individual campuses, But the faculty members involved recognize that they can offer their students a far richer academic experience by pooling their resources. There are times when students are interested in studying a discipline that's not available as a major or a minor on their campus. And for those times, we've created the Five College Certificate Program, through which a student will develop a course of study with a faculty member and then carry it out, usually taking courses on multiple campuses, to graduate with a Five College certificate in that area, which is the equivalent of an academic minor that goes along with their academic major from their home campus. Another example of combining resources is our Center for World Languages, where students can study more than 40 less commonly taught languages to prepare for study abroad opportunities, research in area studies, and even to speak heritage languages with family members back home. And every year we try to create as many opportunities as possible for our students to share what they're doing with each other, with faculty members, and with community members through cultural celebrations, shared performances in such areas as jazz festivals, poetry festivals, Five College Opera, and also academic symposia, where students have the opportunity to share the research that they've been doing. I hope this gives you a sense of the opportunities that students have when they enroll in one of our member campuses in the consortium. I'm now going to unshare my screen and turn things over to my colleague from Amherst College, Kate Zolkas.
Hi, everyone. It's great that you're all here. Thank you for taking the time out to be with us for a little bit this evening. My name is Kate Zolkas. I'm Dean of Admission at Amherst College. My pronouns are she and her. So Amherst was founded about 200 years ago and enrolls about 1,850 students from 48 states, plus DC, Puerto Rico, and 54 countries. 45% of our students identify as students of color, and another 10% are non-US citizens. Another 5% are dual citizens with the US and another country. Amherst is a liberal arts college. Our student to faculty ratio is 7-to-1. Amherst faculty do all the teaching as well as all the academic advising. We offer an open curriculum, which means there are neither distribution requirements nor core requirements. Instead, students choose the courses that matter the most to them, which ensures that each classroom is filled with inquisitive, fully engaged students committed to the topic being discussed. I think maybe right now about your favorite class in high school, and probably your classmates are really engaged. That's how it is at Amherst. Requirements. Students take 30 classes. They're required to take a first-year seminar and complete a major. Often students do a culminating research project, and we can talk more about that later if you all are interested. Both in the classroom and residence halls, we work hard to create an inclusive environment which allows for meaningful relationships among students from different backgrounds with unique experiences and perspectives. Amherst offers many research opportunities for students across disciplines. Just 2 years ago, designed with sustainability in mind, we opened a new science center to provide state-of-the-art facilities and flexible spaces to support and facilitate interdisciplinary partnerships in the sciences at Amherst. Housing is guaranteed for all 4 years. 98% of our students live on campus in one of 34 residential buildings, ranging in size from 10 students to 125. One of my favorite things to talk about is financial aid, and Amherst has a generous financial aid policy. We're need blind in the admission process for all students, domestic and international. We meet 100% of demonstrated need for all admitted students with no packaged loans. This policy holds true for the first student we admit and early decision to the very last student we admit off the wait list, again, regardless of citizenship. Amherst graduates go on to do great things in the world. The Loeb Center for Career Exploration and Planning works closely with students throughout their 4 years, offering career advising, internship opportunities, as well as connecting students with alumni across industries and really around the world. Last but not least, I encourage you to learn more about the admission process and financial aid. Contact us either by email or by phone if you have any questions. You can sit in on a live virtual information session or take a live virtual, sounds like an oxymoron, but a live virtual tour. Now on to my wonderful colleague Fumio from Hampshire College. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Kate. And also just, thank you all of you who are here to join us during these, complicated times. And during this, quite unusual admissions process. So my name's Fumio Sugihara, and I'm Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid at Hampshire College. And of the 5 colleges, we are the smallest, under 700 students. And we are a little bit different in that the 4 colleges came together to create Hampshire 50 years ago, actually. And what they wanted to do, and I think this is a testament to the forethought of these institutions, they wanted a college that would challenge themselves and higher education to do this differently. And Hampshire set out to do that. So we want to offer our students the ability to really study in an unbounded way. So we don't have majors, we don't have departments. Our invitation is that students come to Hampshire and they really define their own trajectory through the liberal arts, and they do that with faculty committees, but they also do that without grades. So we offer narrative evaluations, and our belief is that the narrative evaluations provide the room for praise, but also the room to say, this is where you can grow, and these are the opportunities that are before you. Our students want to create something new. So there is an entrepreneurial spirit, which is so evident in how they come up with their final culminating projects, or how they bring ideas together to form new ways of studies. Just because something hasn't been studied or doesn't have a category, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We invite you to find that space and to explore and to find new things out there to study. But we also recognize that it's important that our students realize the times that they inhabit. And so there's an urgency to the work that happens at Hampshire in terms of, are these things that you as students are studying that are really amounting to change and positive change within our society, within our community, and within the world at large. And so that urgency is evident in how we've created the curriculum here. A couple just nuts and bolts. We are Common Application. We are test blind. I think we went test blind in 2014, among one of the first colleges to do so. And we have merit and need-based assistance, and we're fairly generous with our aid awards. But as Kate said, I really invite you to be in touch and to ask us questions. Sign up for an virtual info session or tour. We'd really love to hear from you and talk in more detail about whether or not Hampshire's the right place. With that being said, it's my pleasure to introduce our colleague from Mount Holyoke College, Katerina Costa.
Thank you, Fumio. Welcome, everyone. I'm Katerina Costa, Director of U.S. Admission, and I use she, her pronouns. Mount Holyoke was founded in 1837 as the first of the 7 sisters at a time when there were no college options for women. Our founder, Mary Lyon, was a pioneer and a visionary, and we have a historic legacy of educating future leaders. We seek to admit students who are ready to take on intellectual risks and who are unafraid of upholding the spirit of social justice that has been woven into the fabric of our institution for nearly 200 years. Today, Mount Holyoke has 2,200 students from 45 states and from all over the world, 76 countries currently represented. We are a gender diverse and gender affirming institution, and we welcome applications from female, trans, and non-binary students. I only have a couple of minutes to speak, as you've probably already noticed, so I want to talk to you about just a couple of things that make Mount Holyoke the treasure that we find it to be, apart from our stunning campus, though the closest you'll get to that today is my virtual background. We have been consistently ranked in the top 5 for best classroom experience in the Princeton Review, and just this year, we were recognized as having the top faculty of liberal arts colleges in the country with a #1 rating, and professors get high marks. Our classes are very small. 3/4 have fewer than 20 students. Our professors are accessible. The environment is rigorous, but incredibly collaborative and not at all cutthroat competitive. We offer 48 majors. Computer science is currently our most popular, followed closely by biology, English, psychology, and economics. Our students are really spread out among the sciences, the arts, the humanities, and social sciences. It's about a third in each of those three major areas. And we do, however, have a very strong preparation in STEM that I want to mention. And in fact, among baccalaureate colleges, Mount Holyoke produces the greatest number of women going on to earn STEM doctorates. We value close mentorship, research opportunities, and hands-on learning, or experiential learning as we call it. Through our Link initiative, Mount Holyoke students are fully funded for a summer internship or research experience before they graduate here in the US or abroad. We connect students with mentors and role models through faculty and our powerful network of 38,000 alums. And one last defining aspect I will mention is our community and the spirit of engagement on campus. See, our students are thinkers and they are doers. They are empowered to take an active role in their community via leadership positions in one of our many, over 100 student organizations. And in the words of our founder, once they graduate, our students are encouraged to, quote, go forward, attempt great things, and accomplish great things. So we also have a number of visit options available, as our colleagues have already mentioned. Learn more by searching virtual visits on our site. That's all for now. Happy to answer your questions, so please post them. Now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Deanna Dixon, Dean of Admission at Smith College.
Thanks, Katerina. I'm Deanna Dixon, Dean of Admission at Smith College. I too would like to welcome you to our session this evening, taking time out of your day or evening, wherever you may be. Smith is one of the largest liberal arts colleges for women with about 2,500 undergraduate students. And at Smith, your ambition is activated. There is nothing to hold you back. We trust you to set your own path, to be audacious, to have courage, to express yourself and find your way in the world. One way we do this is by providing you freedom and flexibility to choose courses in our open curriculum, similar to Amherst College that also has an open curriculum. There are no course requirements at Smith. Outside of requirements for the major and one required writing intensive course, which is not, everyone doesn't take the same course, so you have lots of choice there. Students take responsibility for their education under the guidance of liberal arts advisors. So they use the open curriculum in a thoughtful and intentional way. Though we are strong across the curriculum, about 40% of students major in a STEM field at Smith. We have shown the value we place on women's education by being the first women's college to create our own accredited engineering program, one of only 2 in the country. Smith offers many opportunities to be involved in research in STEM and across disciplines. All students at Smith also have the opportunity to experience a Smith-funded internship. Ours is called Praxis. I know Katerina mentioned one at Mount Holyoke. Smith-funded internship, which means that all students can be paid for otherwise unpaid work. Smith's unique housing system helps to create community across different class years. Our students live among 41 self-governing houses, not what you think of as a typical dorm, where all class years live together. Traditions are honored, friendships are formed, and leadership is developed. Community is also formed by our several cultural organizations, athletics, and in over 140 student organizations. Smith is a community of leaders with a legacy of activism and social justice. We welcome students who want to raise their voice or be inspired to do so from the students around them. Women's colleges provide the space for students to become risk takers, to feel that their contributions to class are valued, to develop their voice by speaking up and speaking out and not apologizing for it. I look forward to answering your questions tonight, and as others, there are plenty of opportunities to connect with us virtually, and we are happy to answer any questions outside of this evening. If you don't have many of your Smith questions answered, please be in touch with us. Now I will pass things over to my colleague, Mike Drish, Director of First Year Admissions at University of Massachusetts Amherst.
Thank you, Deanna. And let me extend my welcome to everyone. So glad that you're able to join us this evening or whatever time it may be across the globe where you're joining us. I am here tonight to talk a little about the University of Massachusetts Amherst. We are a public flagship university dedicated to making a profound transformative impact to the common good. UMass Amherst was founded in 1863, and today we're the largest public research university in New England, distinguished by the excellence and breadth of our academic, research, and undergraduate student population. And I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about our academic experience and our campus community. In terms of the academic experience at UMass, I want to highlight this because we're a little bit different from our other 5 college peers. We have over 100 majors in 10 undergraduate schools and colleges. It's not just the vast academic and research possibility that sets UMass apart, but we offer a variety of learning environments from small class settings to large lecture classes with discussion sections. What's nice though, is that well over 80% of our courses offered to students have 40 or fewer students. So there are a number of different ways to experience a small classroom setting at UMass, even from a student's first year. But in each of the settings that we offer, students are educated by engaged faculty who are here to teach and are also finding ways to make an impact on their fields. 12 UMass Amherst faculty are among the world's most highly cited researchers. And that's one of the reasons we're a research powerhouse. And as early as their first year, students are able to get involved in real world-changing research, partially because they get to know their professors in the classroom. And professors like to do research with those that they know and trust. And all of this environment leads to an entrepreneurial spirit. Our students partner with industry to bring research to the marketplace, locally and across the globe. In our academic environment, we also have the Commonwealth Honors College, which offers small classes, a residential community, a specific curriculum, specific research opportunities, and programs. And so there's a lot of opportunity to build even a smaller college setting within the UMass Amherst community. So that's a little bit about our academic environment, but I'd like to spend some time talking about our student community as well. We are home to a diverse, welcoming, supportive student community of 23,000 undergraduates. The majority of those students are from Massachusetts, but about a fourth come from outside of Massachusetts, from almost every state in the US and hundreds of countries worldwide. 21% of our students were the first in their family to go to college, or first generation. 30% of them are from traditionally underrepresented racial or ethnic backgrounds. And 27% of our students are from low socioeconomic backgrounds. So the one thing that this very diverse group of students has in common is they all chose UMass Amherst, and they are scholars. One example is we are one of the nation's top producing research universities for Fulbright scholars. We have a wide range of resources that ensure that every student, no matter what their background or experience, arrive at UMass, thrive during their first year, return, and we have one of the highest four-year graduation rates of any public four-year university in the United States. And also something else that's a little bit different from our other public university peers is that we have a large supportive residential community. 100% of first-year students live in the residence halls on the UMass campus in a traditional year, and the majority of all of our undergraduates live on campus, and that really helps us build this large, diverse community. And the final thing I'd like to say is, as a large, diverse community, and especially talking about our students, we work continuously to improve our relations between students from so many backgrounds, and we strive for every student to feel welcome and comfortable in an environment where they feel safe and can easily learn and flourish to their greatest potential. So that's just a little bit about UMass Amherst. I hope that you'll explore more about us online and through our other virtual programming, but I'm going to hand it back over to Kevin to take us to the next part of the program. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, Mike. Yeah, now we're going to handle questions that we've received from you. We both have questions that some of you sent in during the registration process, as well as questions that are coming in live as we speak now. Let's see, the first one we have here is, what are the admissions processes at your campuses like, especially during the pandemic? And Mike, I know you've covered a lot of this in your work. Can I pick on you again to answer this question?
Absolutely. Now that I'm warmed up, I might as well keep going. So happy to answer that one. Yeah, this is a great question because obviously all of us are talking about our campuses beyond the past 7 months because we have long histories, we have an approach to things. We want you to understand what our campuses are all about in a pre-pandemic and in a post-pandemic environment. But I think it's a great question because right now we're all living through something that is unparalleled in terms of what any of us have faced. The good news is that looking at the 5 colleges, we're all in pretty good company in terms of our response and how we've handled the pandemic. A few things I'd like to highlight is first and foremost, I'm comfortable saying that you can count on each of our campuses to put our students' best interests at the center of our decisions. As the COVID situation unfurled in the spring, our leadership moved swiftly to adjust. We all shifted courses online. We moved staff like all of us to a telecommuting model. We reoriented our courses for both spring and now fall semesters. And we also provided financial assistance for those students in need. So we all responded as best we could in a very unique environment in terms of ensuring that our students' best interests were put forth. In terms of admission, though, let's talk a little bit about those topics. The good news is all of the 5 colleges are test optional, which means whether or not you choose to take or have the option to take the SAT or the ACT will have absolutely no negative influence on your admission process. Now, some of us, like Smith and Mount Holyoke, have been test optional from well beyond before the pandemic, 10 to 20 years. Others, like UMass Amherst, we are test optional for the first time this year. The key thing is that even if it is our first year doing this, or even if a few of us are relatively new to being test optional, all of us have a holistic admission process, which means we have years and years of under our belts of reviewing applicants, considering a wide array of factors and requirements. So again, speaking for UMass Amherst, while this is the first year we're test optional, we have not relied on standardized testing to drive an admissions decision for a significant number of years. So removing one factor of many does not cause challenges or cause us to not be able to review applications in a way that we would have even in the previous year or the past few years. I know that in terms of international students, some other challenges caused by the pandemic would include the ability to obtain a visa to come to the United States. We all pride ourselves on the diversity and inclusive nature of our campus communities, and we are prepared to continue to admit international students and welcome them to our campus communities. We're also prepared to welcome students from across the United States who may have some concerns about travel or may not initially be looking to go too far from home. The key thing is that we are offering virtual classes, we're building virtual communities to ensure that whether or not students are coming from enrolling, maybe not physically, but enrolling in our campuses from across the globe, from across the US, may not be able to get to our campuses even if we start to reopen, that there's an opportunity to engage and feel a part of our campus community. So flexibility is the name of the game. We know that for many of you, your transcripts may look different this year. You may have pass-fail grades. You may have a lack of certain awards or recognition. Your academic achievement, no question, will be evaluated in the context of any obstacles you may have faced beyond your control. We also will not disadvantage you because of changes or limitations to clubs or activities or the usual summer activities that were limited due to the pandemic. You have a lot of space on the Common Application to talk about what you have experienced, either through the COVID specific question or by weaving your answers through other parts of the Common Application. The key thing to remember related to admissions is our review process takes into account the past 4+ years of your life. And while it is somewhat hard to believe, COVID has been an influence on our lives for about the past 7 months. And while that is an important part possibly for many of you in terms of your identity, be mindful of the balance in your application content. COVID is current. We all live in the moment in many ways, but your application should be an overview of who you are, what you've done, and what you've accomplished in the past 7 months, but also the years prior to that as well. So I think that we've all responded in a way that I'm proud of. I think that our admissions processes reflect that mindfulness, that care and concern for your well-being, for empathy, for understanding your situation. But remember that your application also should reflect multiple years of experience, not just the past few months. So I hope that answers your question. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Let's see, another question we have is how are the campuses addressing racism, and how do we ensure that students feel welcomed and comfortable on our campuses? Katerina, could you answer that question, please?
Yes, thanks, Kevin. This was one that we looked at ahead of time and gave some thought to. And of course, I want to do my best to represent my colleagues and our neighbor colleges. And I will start off by saying, first and foremost, speaking on behalf of the group, to acknowledge that we do have twin pandemics taking place right now. Mike just talked about COVID. And our other pandemic is racism and all the ways in which it is so insidiously woven into the fabric of American life. And that's why each of our campuses has made public our anti-racism action plans. Now, we all know that words without action may not mean much, so we are working each day at what it means to be anti-racist. We also know that we will never arrive. That is, we won't ever be able to say my school is anti-racist, because truly there is no final destination in this work. And as institutions, we challenge ourselves to do that work every day. Our campuses are deeply committed to supporting our students, staff, and faculty as we move ahead in our attempts to be anti-racist, to be inclusive, and to provide our students with a strong sense of belonging. So what I'll do now is give you just a few highlights of what each of the schools is doing or has been involved in with regard to this work. Mount Holyoke's Common Read this year is the 1619 project. And in addition to inviting New York Times Nicole Hannah-Jones to speak to our community last month, we've also been having small group dialogues about racial trauma, racial healing, and supporting our BIPOC students. Next Thursday, scholar and professor Martha Jones is coming to speak to us virtually, of course, about the suffrage movement and the incredible role that Black women played in actualizing, gaining their right to vote after the 19th Amendment was ratified. At UMass Amherst, their Center for Multicultural Advancement and Student Success has forged a racial justice coalition focused on achieving a racially just and oppression-free environment. I encourage you to look into that some more on their website. At Amherst, they too have already begun to focus on students in STEM with an initiative called Being Human in STEM, or HSTEM. The initiative aims to foster a more inclusive, supportive STEM community by helping students, faculty, and staff collaboratively develop a framework to understand and navigate diverse identities in the classroom, lab, and beyond. And at Smith, they're focusing on the words of scholar and author Michelle Alexander, who wrote, "We cannot solve a problem we do not understand." So Smith is educating and acting simultaneously, whether it be a book club to unpack Brian Stevenson's Just Mercy, or a class for students, faculty, and staff called Thinking Through Race, They are engaging the history of race in America, its intersection with other identities, and as well the impact on the world today. And last but not least, I'm going to end my comments by speaking about Hampshire. As you've already heard today and with Fumio's introduction, by the nature of its very existence, Hampshire stands for everything we all hope to be. If you want to get a sense of how deep the commitment to racial justice is at Hampshire, all you have to do is check out their website to see highlights of conversations with James Baldwin, who served as a visiting professor in 1984. Or you could read about its history and founding in the New College Plan, which is also online, a report that called to question all of our assumptions about liberal arts education and led to Hampshire's founding. There is a reason why Hampshire stands as the nation's higher education leader in being test blind. So in short, I think Hampshire exists to turn what we think we know on its head. And I am so proud to be among a team of leaders willing to do just that.
Thank you, Katerina. We have another question here about building community. How do we embrace students from different backgrounds and ensure they thrive on our campuses? Deanna, would you like to answer that one?
Absolutely. Thanks, Kevin. I will say that this is a very important question for students looking to go to college in the next year and beyond. And I take this one to heart because I'm the parent of a high school senior myself. So this conversation about community and supports on community is certainly important in my household. So I would begin by answering that question by saying that from the smallest of us to the largest of us, we all provide resources and support that help our students thrive on our campuses. It is important to all of us that students thrive academically, and we all provide academic supports for all students. This could be peer-to-peer tutoring or study groups. It could be writing support from staff, support for quantitative work. There's also the faculty office hour, which I can't emphasize enough is very important. Office hours means that there is a designated hour or time frame where teachers or your professors are available to answer your questions or just to chat. It's a great way, and arguably maybe the best way, for them to get to know you, and certainly a big part of helping students thrive in college. We also aim to provide campus environments where students feel they are welcomed and where they feel a sense of belonging. Katerina alluded to that in the answer that she gave to the previous question. We do that by providing a menu of resources and staff whose job it is to support you and help you succeed and thrive. From the residential experience to mental health services, you can be confident that the resources are there. For some of us, traditions can epitomize community and help students thrive. Traditions bond students together and create lasting memories. This is especially true for the women's colleges, where our strong alumni network also helps students thrive by providing a connection to life post-college, encouragement to persist, and let's face it, career and job connections too. So we really value our alums. We value diverse campuses. We know and understand that a student body comprised of different student backgrounds create communities that contribute significantly to everyone's experience, academically and beyond the curriculum. Race, ethnicity, class, gender expression, sexual orientation, religious expression, physical ability, political expression. So much make up our identities, and we all aim to provide communities that are inclusive and welcoming of these identities. We value a commitment to anti-racism, anti-oppression, social justice, respectful discourse, and engagement. The curricular and co-curricular experiences, residential spaces, clubs, and organizations provide ways for students to bring their authentic selves to our communities. Though we recognize it's not always easy. Our centers or offices that have multicultural affairs or multicultural advancement in their title help to support students whose identities intersect in a variety of combinations, including first generation, BIPOC, low income. Our cultural centers provide affinity spaces and that home away from home that I'm sure many of you will value, which will give you confidence of self-expression so you can be your authentic self. Student conceived and student run organizations contribute here as well. Our communities also include support for LGBTQ students through student organizations and affinity spaces, plus more structured centers such as UMass's Stonewall Center or Hampshire's Queer Community Alliance Center. Smith and Mount Holyoke also include students whose identification spans the gender spectrum. And I suggest that if you have questions about application policies pertaining to transgender students interested in Smith or Mount Holyoke that you maybe ask us independently of this session, certainly be in touch. I think I'll stop there, and I hope that that answers the question. Thanks.
Thank you, Deanna. Sorry, I've been busy typing out answers to all the questions you guys are sending in. You guys are great. So another question we have that we're going to answer live is, how can a liberal arts education prepare a student for the job market? Fumio, would you be interested in answering that one?
Yeah, I'd love to answer that question. Yeah, and this is kind of like, this is the kind of the rubber meets the road question. You know, what is this education going to prepare me for, especially in light of the investment? But I'm going to approach this from a kind of a different perspective. You know, like, you know, most parents and most children or most students want, you know, they're looking for a safe environment, and we're seeing that, you know, seeing that in some of the questions that are coming up. You know, they also want to acquire, you know, real world marketable skills, which is more directly related to this question. And then also you want to have the confidence that college is a good fit and will meet, you know, your aspirations. You know, like, does it have the programs and the things that you want to do? And when we survey students, you know, families and students, they tend to want these three things, and typically in this order. But you know, these expectations are long-standing, but they're not you know, they sometimes change. You know, for example, you know, the context and nature of, you know, real world marketable skills has changed with advances in technology, and so those skills change frequently to keep stride with the opportunities. And so that's really important, but also safety, you know, thinking about food insecurity or racial climate on campus, and any number of issues which we've talked about. Those are about safety and the ability for each student to have the opportunity to study in an environment where they believe they can learn. So these are evolving, but for a long time they've actually been the top things listed by students and their families. And the liberal arts, you know, is important in this conversation. You know, liberal arts being the bedrock of education in the United States has both kind of shaped these trends, you know, whether it's technological innovations or the creative force of our alums as they enter the workforce and they do new things and they meet the future challenges. And whereas it might sound like, you know, it might sound like hyperbole when we say, you know, liberal arts and these colleges are shaping these trends. It's really not. It's really important to kind of put that into context of, you know, what it is that's happening, and the rate at which things are happening. You know, it's anticipated that you know, you as students are going to see so many more changes in your careers, and we can't even imagine what are the jobs of the future that you're going to have. And you know, so our goal is to do our best to prepare you for that. And in a lot of ways, like Hampshire's a great example of that. And as others have noted, you know, we challenge our students to create new knowledge, but on the other hand, the four colleges created Hampshire for the purpose to simultaneously challenge themselves to stay relevant, and in recognition of the contributions that higher education makes to our society. You know, right to answer this question. This is also demonstrated in the research that's being done on our campuses. You know, we have, I mean, UMass is a major research institution conducting research on COVID right now as we talk, right down to other issues around, you know, Hampshire gray water treatment and environmental issues, you name it. You know, doing the things that are going to contribute to the knowledge of the future is similar to preparing students for the future and giving you a hand in that work, in that research, in that ability to not just study in a book, but to study with your research and in practice. But also other ways we do this is, through open curriculum, no academic departments, schools, colleges, to really make it so that you have the freedom to create and to be engaged in a way that's going to instill in you, the confidence to be successful as you meet the market. Our individual institutions are committed to providing for the intellectual and professional development of you, but we do this through centers on campus dedicated to providing you with advising and insight about career paths and opportunities. We all have a center where you can go and sit down and learn about various jobs. We also enable you to be in touch with our alumni. We have lists, that we've collectively assembled. We have many notable alums. When you look at the list of individuals who attended these colleges, it's kind of incredible. But actually more important than that is that our alums are actively engaged in being resources and mentors for our students. And I think I saw that come up in a question earlier. We have alumni network portals where you can connect with these alums. We have Amherst has an alumni in residence program. They offer real world advice to students, along with networking is a process of helping you get out in front of employers through college fairs and having employers come to campus to meet with our students. UMass annually welcomes over 20,000 employers across 60 industries to post internships, fellowships on their career management service. And all of us, that's not talking about the shared resources that Kevin referenced earlier, but all of us have campus fairs in which this year those will be virtual, but in which you can meet employers or find internships. So there's a lot of substance to what's available, but also more tangibly, we provide students, we provide you with the skills to succeed professionally. This includes the ability to communicate a point with force and accuracy in writing and speech. Analytic skills to assess qualitative and quantitative information to support a perspective, to learn from new information and understanding while identifying the critical questions to ask, and the cultural competence to the ability to recognize the context in which an argument, interaction, or project takes place. And those are the core elements of a liberal arts. And when we talk to business leaders or civic leaders, these are the skills that they often cite when they're talking about who is it that they want to hire. But a lot of places do this well. What does it mean to do it better? And we achieve better by committing to small classes, even UMass Amherst, this includes creating space for students to interact with faculty in conversation after class, research opportunities, as I've already noted. And it's really these close interactions with faculty and your fellow peers, as well as alums, that help to develop in you the confidence you'll need to differentiate yourselves beyond college. And I can go on, but the real crux of this is that there's a lot of ways to develop competence, to develop the skills, but the differentiation is the confidence, and leaving one of our institutions knowing that you have choices that you can make that will define your future. I'll pass it back to Kevin.
Thanks so much, Fumio. Let's see, another question we have here. Could you talk about the academic opportunities on the campuses? Kate, I don't think I picked on you yet. Do you want to answer that question?
Sure, I would be very happy to. Thank you. And let me also say, you guys are asking a ton of great questions, so we're all typing as fast as we can. Forgive the typos, please. And as you ask really specific questions, it's probably great to go check out our institutions too. We only have a limited amount of time now. If you visit us virtually, you can spend an hour learning more about our different institutions. But to talk about academics within the 5 colleges, it's kind of extraordinary that within our bucolic geographic setting in Western Massachusetts, and right now the hills are sparkling. Well, right now it's dark, but generally right now the hills are sparkling with reds and yellows and oranges of fall. We have such rich academic offerings. While each of our institutions is completely autonomous, together we really are stronger. We're stronger because of our differences, which add breadth to options for students and to our faculty. Because of the consortium, our students will have many thousands of classes to consider across a staggering breadth of options. If they attend Hampshire, Smith, Mount Holyoke, or Amherst, for example, they will experience the close colloquy of a small college with the resources of a large university. Or if you flip that around, if students attend UMass, there are myriad options consistent with a large university, yet with the small college intimacy that's available also. Students, as Kevin shared, can cross-register and take classes on other campuses. Faculty can also collaborate across institutions within the framework of their academic areas of interest. To add another dimension, the Five Colleges actually hire 5 college professors who are not restricted to teaching on one campus, but might teach at Smith this semester, Mount Holyoke next semester, Hampshire, et cetera. You've heard a bit about each college, but now let me provide some more detail and share with you some of the more popular classes, in this case measured by 5 college cross enrollment, which I always find interesting. So at Amherst, last fall, a 5 college professor taught an astronomy class that focused on observations and techniques. And another very popular class at Amherst among 5 college students is Japanese 101, which is team taught by 2 Amherst College professors. Hampshire attracts students from the other 4 institutions to take American Sign Language, which I noticed was a question in the Q&A. So Hampshire offers American Sign Language classes, and also a popular class at Hampshire is a graphic design studio class. 5 college students can make their way. So think about being on a bus, on that free bus that Kevin mentioned, driving past Amherst, past Hampshire, heading up over the notch, going into the Mount Holyoke College campus, which is spectacular, where they take education classes as well as attend African studies classes. Just across the Connecticut River, students are jazzed to take dance classes at Smith, specifically in improv, African dance, and ballet. When I attended graduate school at UMass, my absolute hands down favorite class was taught by the then chancellor, and he continues to teach at UMass and is teaching a class examining the history of college sports. Another popular class that draws students from the other 4 colleges to UMass focuses on philosophy in public schools. So students who leave their home campuses to take a class across town or over the Holyoke Range or across the Connecticut River tend to be highly motivated and energized, and they add a rich perspective and energy to the class. At the same time, it's important to note that students from home institutions have the priority. So a Hampshire student would not be excluded from a Hampshire class because it's full of 5 college students. Many clubs and extracurricular activities on each of the 5 college campuses are also open to 5 college students, adding an even greater sense of community and collaboration. So let me stop there. I could go on for the next hour, but I'll stop there so we can answer more questions. But that was a great question. Thank you.
Kevin, you are muted.
My apologies. I've been very busy trying to answer your questions. And as I was just saying, I'm going to take a quick look and see if there's some that we can answer right now live. One question is about collaborative STEM research opportunities between the 5 campuses. And this really applies to research in general. All of our both 5 college programs and programs on our individual campuses are very open to collaborating with each other. So even if there's a program or an area that you're interested in that there's not a matching 5 college program for, chances are very good that you can work with your professor or professors to develop research opportunities at another campus if that campus has something that maybe your campus isn't offering in terms of research opportunities, internship opportunities, or things like that. I think one good example of a 5 college program with extensive research opportunities is our Coastal and Marine Sciences program. Students in it can focus on anything from marine biology to engineering to public policy or economics. It's a truly interdisciplinary program. And we have a funded summer internship program set up with the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute on Cape Cod so that students who qualify for that program are able to go there and conduct research, all while they're majoring on their home campus and whatever they are majoring in, if it's marine biology or one of these other areas that I've talked about. You can certainly find out more information about that on our website. I'm going to look for another question that I can ask one of our folks here. I'm wondering if we had a question about what systems do you have in place to help support non-traditional students with children? And I'm wondering if there's anyone of our panelists who might be interested in talking about anything that you might have on your campus. I'm sure that the opportunities are probably fairly different from campus to campus.
I can begin to answer that question.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, and I can say a little bit about our Ada Comstock Scholar Program, which is a transfer program for non-traditional age students. Part of what we try to offer is residence options for families or students with dependents. We don't have a lot of housing available, but we do have it available, I think is the important thing to know. It takes the shape of a particular house. I mentioned that Smith has houses, not dorms, but it's a house on campus that is structured to accommodate students with dependents. So we do have students that are part of that Ada Comstock Scholar Program that have, young children, so as in babies, and to, high school age students. So we try to accommodate students as much as possible and know that this is a population, at least for Smith. So we're talking about students who self-identify as women, who have dependent children, and we try to make it easy for them to not have to worry so much about housing so that they can focus on their education. So I will offer that as a way to open up if anyone else has something to contribute.
One thing that I would add to what you said, Deanna, UMass Amherst is a public kind of flagship university. One of our principles is being very open to a wide range of students. So there's a program called University Without Walls. If you just Google that with UMass, that's something that you could explore. University Without Walls was created back around 1970. And UMass Amherst was one of an original group of 17 public universities that basically opened its doors to non-traditional students and made it even more made higher education even more accessible. And that program today is nothing short of impressive. If you look at the courses offered in University Without Walls, the opportunities, it is geared toward non-traditional students. We're to this day very supportive of non-traditional students. There are housing options on the UMass campus, just like Deanna mentioned, for Smith, for non-traditional students as well. So definitely a lot of opportunities to consider depending on each individual situation, but definitely for UMass, if you Google or search University Without Walls, you'll see some great opportunities.
And I don't for Hampshire, I don't have much to add. We do require students to live on campus, but we don't actually have housing that is typically suitable for families. So we waive the housing requirement on campus. We do, however, have an early learning center on campus, which can be available to students. So it's it's not the ideal scenario, but there are resources, and we're definitely available to working with students and trying to figure out their circumstances and how best to serve them.
I just want to briefly add that Mount Holyoke does have a program for non-traditional age students called the Francis Perkins Program. I encourage you to look at some more details on our website. We admit somewhere around sort of 75 students yearly into that program. So we definitely are interested in speaking with you more if that's something that you want to learn more about.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. Why don't we take one more kind of round robin question, and then we will wrap up for the evening. And I will point out that all of our panelists are sharing with you their email addresses on the public chat. So please feel free to take those down. and be welcome to follow up with them later. So the question is, what one piece of advice would each of you offer to students, prospective students who may be applying to your campus? And why don't we go in reverse alphabetical order? If I can do this in my head, we'll start with UMass, which would be Mike.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, Amherst is at the end of our name, so I get to be usually last. So now I get to go first. That's awesome. A little bit of advice. Well, I would say, first of all, in terms of your college search, take full advantage of any of the resources you have available to you. That can be a wide variety of things. Some of you may be attending tonight, and you may attend schools where you have college counseling resources and you have those staff that are there to advise and counsel you. Take advantage of that. Others may be coming at us tonight from schools where there are no college counseling resources, where there's no one to assist you through that process at your school. You may be the first in your family to go to college. Do not be afraid to reach out to us. As you heard Kevin mention, we're all putting our emails out there. We have our staff and contact information on our websites, and you're not bugging us. Despite what someone may say, or if someone says, don't do that, ignore that advice. You should reach out to us. You should ask us questions. Even if you come from a well-resourced school, it's valuable to reach out to us, to not go on what a friend or a neighbor or a parent may have to say, but to hear it directly from the admissions staff and those individuals who are living and breathing what that campus, what that university is all about today. So don't be afraid to ask questions. You can't ask us enough questions. Tonight's proof of that. We've been answering your questions and continue to do so, and your search and ultimately where you land for college will be better for it. Best of luck, everyone.
Thanks, Mike. Next up, Deanna from Smith College.
Thanks. I think Mike gave all the advice. I would say be yourself would be my advice. I think that students, and I know from my personal experiences, I mentioned before, it's so easy, I think, for students to think that you are not enough, or you didn't do enough, or it's not good enough. And you are enough, and you are unique because you're unique. So my advice really is to be yourself and to approach this process and your application with putting your best foot forward, for sure. You want to do your best, but you already are your best. And to just be you, and to not stress out over not being what you think we are looking for, because we're looking for just who you are.
Thanks, Deanna. Katerina at Mount Holyoke.
All right. Yes. So how can we do this, right, without saying and emphasizing and underlying really some of the key themes Deanna and Mike have already highlighted? I guess what I will focus on, I guess, comes out of the conversations I've been having most recently with students and parents, and that is the additional stress that's surrounding applying during the pandemic. And I just want to leave you with some, I guess, parting words, or really a reminder that we are all living in this moment of history as admission deans or directors, as professionals, but also as human beings, as parents, as family members. We are truly all in this together. And while we imagine that the process for you looks different this year, we know that you haven't been able to visit schools the way maybe you dreamed you might or anticipated you might. I want you to trust that we are going to do everything possible to still get to know you and to give your application every consideration. We like to say, I like to say, I'm in the business of admission, right? Not denying. And I know that we are going to look at your applications very carefully. We know that, again, your trajectory might look different than what you imagined it might have looked at this moment. But I'm an optimist. I know that there's a school out there for each and every one of you. We hope it's one of our 5 colleges, but if not, we know that there will be a match for you, come either later this fall, if you go early, or come next spring. So do your best, put together an application that you're proud of, and trust that the humans on this side of the desk will give you every consideration.
Thank you, Katerina. Fumio from Hampshire College.
I mean, there's so much good advice that's already been said. It's hard, but I think I have two things. And again, one is, as to speak to Katerina's point, is that yeah, this is a really challenging year. I would encourage you to try to envision a brighter future and one where you're having a bit more fun. Because one of the things that always worries me, and I've been at this for a while, is that college should be fun. I mean, it should be really hard work and it should really challenge you, but at the end of the day, it should be an experience that you look back on and with a sense of pride as well as joy. And it really should start before. I want you to start to do that now. If you're on this call with us, you're already displaying probably 90% of what you need to succeed. And so follow that, run with it. The other part about fun is like more serious. I know that's kind of weird, right? It's more serious in that if you can have fun and you can make an experience something that is more meaningful and enjoyable to you, you'll usually keep a level head. And why that's important is that, for example, I'm the Dean of Admissions, I hire my staff. If you go out and you meet with one of my team members or you get on a virtual session with one of my team members and they're obnoxious, they won't be. But that tells you something. It tells you what we think about students and how we engage and interact. And sometimes when you're stressed out and you're worried about whether I'm going to get in and all that stuff, you're not necessarily saying, how is someone treating me as a person, as a student, as an individual? And that fun perspective, I think, can help you keep grounded and keep a sense of those realities, so that at the end of the day, you make the decision that's the best for you. And I think that's what all of us are saying, is that it's like, we're here to help you make the best decision, and to provide you with the information resources. So have fun, keep some perspective, and have more fun.
Great. Thanks so much, Fumio. And last but absolutely not least, Kate from Amherst College.
Well, now my colleagues, thank you, are posting their suggestions in the chat. This is so unfair. So let me talk for a minute or less than that about my advice. So first of all, I think, as Mike described so well, these are really stressful times, but we know that, like, it's stressful for us too in different ways. And we're going to recognize it's stressful for you. We're going to recognize you might not have grades this fall. You might not have had grades last spring. We're all test optional for a lot of reasons. Testing might not be a choice, or maybe you don't feel safe testing. We get it. We understand. And we're going to, you've met us, right? Very briefly. As Dina said in the chat, we're humans. Like, we really want to make this process, especially in these stressful times, less stressful, if at all possible. And so when I think the advice is to be yourself, that's very authentic advice. And I'm going to add one more bit to that. Are our colleges good enough for you, right? Do our colleges have what you need? These are 5 schools. We're terrific schools and we're very different, but you might be looking for something else. And if you are, that's okay. So I think as you're exploring different colleges, try to figure out what you want and what works for you. And it might be a college that everyone in the world has heard of, or that no one has heard of, or very few people have heard of. And that's okay. You need to do what's best for you. And this feels like a huge decision, and it is a big decision. It's a journey where you get to know yourself, and you have to navigate managing your family and your friends and their expectations, which can be super tricky. But in the end, you make a final decision. You will have different options. You make a decision. And if you make a terrible choice, and let's say you pick a school and you're very unhappy, it's not the end of the world. You can transfer, right? So take a little bit of the pressure off yourself. Be kind to yourself. Don't I guess just be kind to yourself, and be kind to everyone else around you, of course. But we understand these are stressful times, and we are here to support you. We've all shared our email addresses. Again, reach out to us if you would like to ask more specific questions, visit our schools virtually, and we all, collectively wish you only the very, very best as you navigate this really stressful process in these unprecedented times. So have a great night.
Great advice, Kate. Thanks so much. And thank you again for joining us for this Five College virtual open house, and best of luck in your college searches. Thank you.